All right, so get this. We're talking satellite internet today. Like, whoa, the whole internet from space.
Yeah, it's pretty wild stuff.
And we've got these excerpts from a report
Oh, cool.
all about how like Starlink and all those companies are changing how we even get online.
Yeah.
And bringing like crazy fast internet to like, I don't know, the middle of the ocean, top of a mountain, you name it.
Yeah.
Like rural schools in Africa doing like Zoom classes, you know.
Heard about that.
Farmers like way up in the Himalayas checking the weather forecast in like real time.
That's pretty incredible.
Totally changes the game. So to help us like really get into this, we've got an expert here who's gonna break it all down for us, all the tech stuff, the impact, everything.
Well, I'm excited to dive in, that's for sure. There's so much to talk about.
Okay, so first things first. Who are the big players here?
Right.
Like, who are the companies making this whole satellite internet thing, you know, actually happen? And what makes them, like, different from each other?
Okay, well, you can't talk about satellite internet without talking about Starlink.
Right.
SpaceX has already, like, launched over 5,000 satellites just for this project.
Wow.
And they're aiming for, like, total global coverage eventually.
Yeah.
What's really impressive about them is their speed. Like, we're talking up to 500 millisecond in some places.
Seriously?
Yeah, which is, that's as fast as, or even faster than, like, regular broadband in a lot of cities.
That is crazy. Okay, so that's Starlink, but what about Amazon with their Project Kuiper?
Yeah, so Amazon's definitely another major player, but they're kind of doing things a little differently. They haven't launched as many satellites yet, but they're planning, like, over 3,000.
Okay.
And their big thing is they want to make it more affordable.
Oh, interesting.
Like really accessible to more people, even if they don't have a lot of money.
Right.
Because, getting internet to everyone, that's a huge part of bridging that digital divide we always hear about.
Makes sense. But with these companies, like, aiming for the whole world, is there even room for, I don't know, smaller companies, like ones that just cover a specific region or something?
Oh, totally. There's OneWeb, which is backed by the UK government, and they've got over 700 satellites up there already.
Wow.
And then you've got like India's Farratnet and China's got their Hongyan constellation. Those are more focused on, internet within those countries.
Right. So it's not just like a two-horse race then?
Not at all. And that's a good thing, right? More competition is usually better for everyone in the end.
Yeah, totally. But, okay, hold on. I gotta geek out for a sec. All these satellites, like, beaming internet down from space? That's mind-blowing.
It is pretty amazing.
What even makes that possible?
Well, one of the big breakthroughs has been these low Earth orbit satellites. We call them EOS satellites.
EOS satellites.
So they're orbiting way closer to Earth than like the old school satellites. And that means, well, first of all, the internet's way faster because the signal doesn't have to travel as far.
Makes sense.
And way less lag, too.
Oh, yeah, lag is the word.
Like, imagine you're playing a video game online or something.
Yeah.
That lag can totally ruin it. But with LEO satellites, it's so much smoother.
So how close are we talking, like, to Earth?
Oh, way closer. So those old geostationary satellites, they're way out there, like 22,000 miles up.
22,000 miles, wow.
But these LEO satellites, they're more like a few hundred to maybe 1,200 miles up.
Oh, wow, that's a big difference.
Yeah, big difference. And that's what makes those super fast speeds possible.
All right, but I gotta imagine launching all these satellites can't be cheap.
You're right. It used to be ridiculously expensive.
Yeah.
But companies like SpaceX, they figured out this whole reusable rocket thing.
Yeah. I've heard about that.
So that's brought the cost way down. It's like instead of buying a new plane every time you fly, you just use the same one over and over.
Yeah, that's a much better business model.
Makes a lot more sense, right?
Totally. So It's not even just about satellite internet. It's changing how we do space travel in general.
It really is. Reusable rockets are like a game changer for the whole space industry.
Crazy. But okay, back to satellite internet. You mentioned another thing that's making it more accessible.
Oh yeah, the user terminals.
What are those again? Like the dish thingy?
Yeah, exactly. It's like your own personal satellite dish.
Right.
It receives the signal from the satellite and lets you actually get online. There used to be these huge, clunky things that cost a fortune.
Oh, right.
Now they're making them way smaller, more efficient, way easier to install.
Nice.
And that's especially important for those remote areas where there's not a lot of other internet options.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like, imagine setting up internet in, I don't know, a remote village. using something the size of a pizza box.
Yeah.
That's what we're talking about here.
That is pretty amazing. So we've got the LEO satellites, reusable rockets bringing down the cost, and now these tiny user terminals.
Yep.
Sounds like everything's lining up for like a truly global internet.
It really does. But it gets even more interesting when we talk about the different frequency bands they're using.
Okay, now you're getting technical. Frequency bands, what are those?
Well, different frequency bands, they have different properties.
Okay.
So it affects how the signals travel and how much data they can carry. Like Starlink uses this higher frequency band called Ka band, which means faster speeds,
Oh,
but it can be a little less reliable if there's bad weather or interference.
so it's like faster, but maybe a bit more finicky.
Exactly. And then other providers like OneWeb, they use Ku band. It's a lower frequency.
Okay.
So it's not as fast, but it's less likely to be messed up by rain or whatever.
Ah, so there are trade-offs.
Always trade-offs.
Huh.
And Project Kuiper, Amazon thing, they're using a mix of both,
Oh, clever.
right? So they can kind of balance speed and reliability depending on, where they're providing service.
It's like a giant puzzle, figuring out the best way to bring internet to everyone.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the best part is seeing how this tech is actually changing people's lives.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear about. What are like the most inspiring examples of how satellite internet is making a real difference?
Well, one area where it's making a huge difference is education. Imagine, like, a rural school in, I don't know, a developing country
Okay, yeah.
where kids didn't really have access to good learning resources before. Now, with satellite internet, they can suddenly connect with teachers all over the world.
Wow.
You can access online libraries, do virtual learning. It's really leveling the playing field, giving these kids opportunities they never would have had otherwise.
That's amazing. It's like opening up a whole world for them. But it's not just education, right?
No, not at all. Think about like disaster relief. When there's a natural disaster, earthquakes, hurricanes, communication networks often get knocked out.
Yeah, that's a huge problem.
But with satellite internet, you can have that vital lifeline, even when everything else is down.
Yeah.
Like emergency responders can still communicate, people can get in touch with loved ones, get access to crucial information.
It's like a safety net for communication when all else fails.
Exactly. Like after the earthquake in Turkey and Syria this year, they were able to set up these portable satellite internet terminals in the disaster zone really quickly.
Oh, wow.
So aid workers could coordinate, medical teams could access patient records, families could find each other. It made a huge difference in getting help to the people who needed it most.
That's powerful stuff. It shows how this technology can really be a force for good.
Yeah, absolutely. And it goes beyond disaster relief, too. We're seeing satellite internet helping economies grow, especially in developing countries.
Oh, how so?
Well, small businesses can connect with customers and suppliers all over the world. Farmers can get real-time weather and market data to make better decisions. Entrepreneurs can start online businesses.
So it's not just about being connected, it's about giving people opportunities they wouldn't have had otherwise.
Exactly. It's about empowering people,
Yeah.
helping them thrive. But, we do have to acknowledge there are some downsides too.
Ah, right. There's always a flip side.
There are challenges that come with all this rapid expansion of satellite internet.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What are some of the downsides we need to be thinking about? Okay, so we've seen how satellite internet is already changing things, but what about like the future?
Right.
What's coming next? What kind of crazy advancements are on the horizon? I feel like we're just getting started.
Oh, absolutely. It's moving so fast. One thing that's really exciting is this idea of global roaming services.
Global roaming for satellite internet, like roaming on your phone when you're traveling?
Yeah, exactly like that. Imagine being able to connect to the internet, like no matter where you are in the world, all through your satellite provider. No more searching for Wi-Fi or dealing with those crazy roaming charges from your phone company.
Right.
You could be, I don't know, sailing across the ocean or hiking in the jungle and still have like perfect internet.
That would be a dream. For digital nomads, researchers, anyone who's on the move, how do you think that would change how we work and travel?
Oh, I think it would be huge. Like think about remote work, working with people in other countries, even taking classes online, all from anywhere. Global roaming could really break down those geographical barriers.
Yeah. It's like the world's getting smaller, but in a good way this time.
Exactly. But that's just one thing. There's also this whole idea of integrating satellite internet with the Internet of Things.
Okay, the Internet of Things, or IoT, I've heard that term, but help me out here. We talk a lot about the internet connecting people, but the IoT is more about devices, right?
You got it.
Yeah.
The IoT is like this huge network of devices, everything from like your smart fridge to sensors in factories, all talking to each other.
Oh, okay.
And satellite internet is perfect for connecting those devices, especially in remote areas where it's hard to get regular internet access.
So it's not just about like streaming Netflix on a cruise ship anymore. It's about like sensors on farms, tracking endangered animals, monitoring pipelines for leaks.
Exactly. Satellite internet could really be the thing that makes this whole global network of devices possible.
Wow.
Like imagine farmers in remote villages using sensors and satellite internet to grow more food. Or doctors being able to check on their patients, like in real time, no matter where they are.
That's some next level stuff. But wouldn't all those devices, wouldn't they overload the system? I mean, that's a lot of data.
That's a good point. But the next generation of satellites is being designed with that in mind. We're talking about satellites powered by AI.
Wait, AI-powered satellites? Like they can think for themselves?
Well, kind of. They'll be able to learn from how people are using the network, optimize data flow, prevent slowdowns, even adapt to weather changes.
So like super smart satellites that keep everything running smoothly.
Exactly. It's all about making the internet more responsive, more reliable. And AI is really good at that. Constantly learning, getting better over time.
It's pretty amazing and a little bit scary too, honestly. But thinking about all the good it could do, especially for people in those remote areas, it's hard not to get excited about it.
I know, right? Imagine like everyone having access to good education, healthcare, all those opportunities, no matter where they live.
It's like we're really on the verge of something completely new, but we can't forget about the risks, right? Like we were talking about orbital debris before.
You're right. That's something we really need to be careful about, especially as we launch more and more satellites.
Yeah, what are people doing to make sure we're not creating a space junk problem?
Well, there's a lot of work being done on that. Some companies are trying to use materials that break down naturally in space. Others are developing ways to like capture and remove the debris that's already up there, kind of like cleaning up space.
Oh, that's cool. What about light pollution? I've heard that all these satellites can make it harder for astronomers to see the stars.
That's true. It's definitely a concern. But the industry's working on that too. Like SpaceX is testing out darker coatings for their satellites so they don't reflect as much light. And they're also figuring out how to position the satellites so they're less disruptive to telescopes and stuff.
So it's like trying to find that balance between all the good this technology can do and making sure we're not messing things up in the process.
Exactly. It all comes back to responsible innovation. We have to think about the long-term consequences of what we're doing.
Yeah, we can't get so caught up in the excitement of the new stuff that we forget about the big picture.
Right? Technology is a powerful tool, but it's up to us to use it wisely.
Well said. And that includes making sure everyone actually has access to it, right? Like we can't just forget about the digital divide.
Oh, absolutely not.
Right.
Bridging that divide is still one of the biggest challenges we face. And while satellite internet can definitely help with that, we still need to figure out how to make it affordable and accessible to everyone.
It's not enough to just have the technology. We have to make sure it reaches the people who need it most.
I completely agree. And that means, governments and companies working together, investing in infrastructure, teaching people how to use the internet, making sure it's not too expensive.
It's a big task.
It is, but it's worth it. Imagine what we could achieve if everyone was connected.
Wow, yeah. This has been an incredible conversation. I feel like my brain is bursting with all this information.
I know, right? There's so much to think about. But we've only scratched the surface.
Yeah. I'm so curious to see where this all goes.
Me too. I think we're at this really pivotal moment, like a turning point for the internet and maybe even for humanity as a whole.
It's a little bit overwhelming, but also like super exciting.
Definitely.
Well, we're gonna take a break now, but we're not done yet. We're coming back in the next part of our deep dive to really dig into the future of satellite internet and what it all means for all of us. It is a big question, but like we've been talking about, this idea of almost everyone on Earth having internet. It's getting closer and closer, and it feels like a whole new world almost. So what do you see happening? I mean, good and bad as we head into this super connected future.
Well, I mean, the potential is just, it's mind-blowing. Think about it.
Yeah.
No more limits on education or healthcare because of where you live. Everyone having a chance to build a better life.
Yeah.
People working together to solve, like, the world's biggest problems. It's pretty exciting to think about.
It is, yeah. But I also can't help but think about, the downsides. Like, will it actually be all good?
Right, of course. I mean, one thing that worries me is misinformation. The internet's already full of fake news and all that, and it can be really hard to know what to believe.
Yeah.
And as more people come online, well, that problem could get even worse.
Yeah, it feels like we're still struggling with that, even in places where people have had internet for a long time.
Exactly. And it's not an easy fix. It's going to take, like, better education, supporting real journalism, even using technology to help us spot fake news. We've got to get smarter about how we use the internet.
So it sounds like a lot of the responsibility is going to fall on us, on individuals to figure all this out. But what about, like, governments and these tech companies? What can they do?
Oh, they've got a huge role to play for sure. Governments need to make sure everyone can get online, protect our rights, and make sure the internet is fair for everyone. And the companies that build these platforms, they need to be more responsible too. They've got to do a better job of keeping things safe, protecting our privacy, and stopping the spread of harmful stuff. It's a team effort, basically.
So it's not just about connecting everyone, it's about making sure the internet is a force for good,
Exactly. It's about making the world a better place, not just a more connected place.
Wow, this has been a really incredible conversation. I feel like I have a much better understanding of what's happening with satellite internet and all the potential it has, but also all the things we need to be thinking about.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in, but it's important stuff.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all your knowledge.
Oh, it's been my pleasure. I always love talking about this stuff.
And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of satellite internet. We've covered a lot of ground, but there's so much more to explore. Keep learning, keep asking questions, and let's all work together to make sure this technology is used to build a brighter future for everyone.
Yeah, and next time you look up at the stars, and you see those little satellites zipping by, maybe you'll think about all the people they're connecting, all the possibilities they represent. It's pretty amazing when you think about it.
Yeah, it really is. Thanks again for joining us, and until next time, stay curious.